It was a bright afternoon in the bustling streets of a small American town. The sun reflected off the polished windows of stores, and the hum of traffic filled the air. People walked quickly, heads down, lost in their own worlds. Among them was Mark, a man who prided himself on his wealth and success. He walked with confidence, his polished shoes clicking against the sidewalk, and a smirk always ready for anyone who seemed less than him. That day, Mark's sharp eyes caught sight of a man sitting on the curb, ragged clothes clinging to his thin frame, a dirty cardboard sign reading, "Hungry. Anything helps." Mark chuckled, shaking his head. He whispered to himself, "Some people just don't know how to get a job." He tossed a few coins at the man, not even making eye contact, and moved on. But little did Mark know, his day was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would teach him a lesson he'd never forget. Before we dive in, if you love heartfelt stories about the power of kindness, make sure to subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, like this video, and leave a comment sharing your favorite act of kindness. We love hearing your stories, and your support helps us share more inspiring tales every week. Mark walked down the busy street, still smiling at the thought of his own cleverness. He passed by the same man a few blocks later and laughed louder this time. The man looked up, his eyes weary but gentle, and gave Mark a small, polite nod. Mark scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief at how polite someone so poor could be. Polite? After all this, he muttered, thinking about how lucky he was to have everything he did. As Mark continued on, a strange feeling crept over him, a chill he couldn't quite explain. He dismissed it, assuming it was nothing, and headed toward his favorite cafe, a place he frequented to impress clients and show off his expensive taste. He barely noticed the world outside his bubble of privilege. Inside the cafe, Mark ordered his usual latte and a fancy pastry, the barista greeting him with a cheerful smile. But the moment he took a sip, something unexpected happened. His hand shook, and the cup slipped, spilling scalding coffee all over his designer shirt. He cursed loudly, drawing annoyed glances from everyone around. In his panic, he grabbed napkins, trying to mop up the mess, but it was no use. He looked around, realizing he couldn't just buy his way out of this one. Outside, the man from the street was walking past, carrying a small bag of groceries. He paused when he noticed Mark, drenched in coffee and fuming with frustration. He walked over slowly and said, "Are you okay, sir? That looks painful." His voice was calm, genuine, almost soothing. Mark, caught off guard by the man's kindness, snapped, "What do you want? Can't you see I'm in the middle of something?" But the man didn't flinch. Instead, he offered a small smile and replied, "I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Accidents happen to everyone." Mark stared at him, something stirring inside that he hadn't felt in a long time. Embarrassment, shame, and, oddly, a little guilt. Here was someone he had mocked just minutes ago, showing concern rather than anger, but life had another twist ready. As Mark tried to walk away, he realized he had left his wallet on the cafe counter. He rushed back, only to find it missing. Panic surged through him, his ID, credit cards, and cash were all gone. He turned to the barista, who shook her head, apologizing that she hadn't seen anyone take it. Mark's frustration boiled over, and he stormed outside, looking around desperately, and then he saw the man again. This time, the man held out the wallet, a small smile on his face. "I found this inside. You left it on the counter." Mark's jaw dropped. You found my wallet? But, how?" His voice was trembling, a mixture of shock and disbelief. The man shrugged lightly. "It was on the counter. I just picked it up. I figured someone might be looking for it." Mark felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had expected mockery, sneers, or maybe even theft in return for his earlier cruelty. Instead, this man, the one he had laughed at, had chosen to act with kindness. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Mark looked at the man's hands, rough from work, yet steady and sure. He noticed the dirt under his fingernails, the worn shoes, and the thin jacket. And yet, there was something unshakably human about him, a dignity and generosity that money couldn't buy. "Thank you," Mark finally said, his voice quiet. Not the casual thanks he threw around at parties or in meetings, but a sincere, heartfelt gratitude. The man nodded and said simply, "Everyone needs a little help sometimes. That's all." Mark walked away slowly, his mind racing. He replayed the day's events over and over. The mocking, the spill, the panic, and the unexpected kindness that had turned everything around. For the first time in years, he felt a twinge of humility. He realized that true strength wasn't in wealth or social status. It was in the small choices we make to lift others up instead of tearing them down. That evening, Mark returned to the street where he had first seen the man. He approached him with a careful step and reached into his pocket, pulling out a few bills. I want you to have this. Not because I have to, but because I want to. For your help today, and for reminding me that kindness matters." The man looked at him with surprise, then a gentle smile. "Thank you," he said simply. "That's very kind of you. But you don't have to. Just passing it forward would be enough." Mark nodded, understanding what he meant. He realized that acts of kindness are never about recognition or reward. They're about making someone else's day just a little bit brighter, and in turn, changing the giver's life in ways they could never imagine. Over the next few weeks, Mark's life began to change in subtle ways. He found himself noticing people he had once ignored: the elderly woman struggling with her groceries, the child dropping coins into a parking meter, the coworker who always seemed overlooked. He started holding doors, offering genuine smiles, and listening without judgment. Each act, no matter how small, felt like a seed planted in his heart. The man on the street became a familiar figure to him. They would exchange greetings, sometimes short conversations, other times just a nod and a smile. Mark noticed how the man's kindness wasn't performative. He helped because he could, and because he wanted to, never expecting anything in return. That consistency humbled Mark more than any lecture or book ever could. One rainy afternoon, Mark saw the man struggling to carry a heavy box of supplies down the street. Without thinking, he rushed over and helped him. As they worked together, Mark felt a connection he hadn't felt with anyone in years, a bond formed not from money, status, or appearances, but from shared humanity. "Thank you again," the man said, wiping rain from his brow. "You didn't have to, but you did. That counts for a lot." Mark smiled, feeling a genuine happiness that money had never bought. "No," he said. I think I understand now. Kindness, it comes back in ways you can't predict." Weeks turned into months, and Mark's transformation became noticeable to everyone around him. His friends remarked on his patience, his coworkers appreciated his helpfulness, and strangers noticed the warmth in his smile. What started as a humbling experience with one poor man had blossomed into a new way of living, one where kindness wasn't an obligation, but a choice, and a joy. The man on the street never asked for anything, never sought recognition. He simply continued to live with dignity and generosity, reminding everyone he met that even small acts can have profound ripple effects. And Mark? He had learned one of life's greatest lessons: no matter who you are, no matter how wealthy or powerful, kindness is the one currency that enriches both the giver and the receiver. In the end, the incident with the coffee spill and the lost wallet wasn't just a lesson in humility, it was a reminder that the world has a way of balancing itself. Mockery and arrogance may seem harmless, but generosity and compassion always leave a lasting impact. Mark realized that karma isn't about punishment, it's about reflection. It's about showing us the value of empathy and the importance of treating others with respect, and so, in that small town, on a busy street filled with hurried footsteps and daily struggles, two lives intersected in a moment that neither would forget. One life was changed by a simple act of kindness, and the other found a purpose that went beyond wealth or success. The lesson was clear: no act of kindness is ever wasted. It travels farther than we can see and touches hearts in ways we may never fully understand. If you take one thing away from this story, let it be this: every moment is an opportunity to show kindness. You don't have to wait for a grand gesture or a perfect situation. A smile, a helping hand, a listening ear, these small acts can change lives. Just like that man changed Mark's life, you too can make a difference in someone's day, and maybe even change the course of their life. So next time you see someone struggling, don't mock them. Don't turn away. Pause, offer a helping hand, and remember that kindness has a way of finding its way back to you, often when you least expect it. And who knows? That single moment could be the spark that transforms your life forever, because at the end of the day, kindness isn't just an act, it's a ripple that spreads far beyond what you see, leaving the world a little warmer, a little gentler, and a lot more human.